Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught! Jelani Woods! Touchdown! INDY!
Yes. 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for being with us. Of course, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymorehonda.com to get more to your door in the best in new and used vehicles. Also, Autograph. Don't forget, Autograph is where fans go to get Unreal fandom, and you release it, baby, for rewards and all kinds of things. Make sure you use code ISB Radio. Hope you're having a good day. There's the link for you as well. link.ag.fan/ISB Media. Not a lot going on except for Indiana's in the middle of signing potentially the biggest portal class in college basketball after yesterday landing the number one target and number one available player in the portal. Oumar Ballo, the 7-foot transfer from Arizona, is now heading to Bloomington. In addition to Miles Rice and the commitment of Mr. Tucker, Indiana's on its way to replenishing its roster and probably putting one out that is going to be the best roster they have had to date. But definitely a different approach, a more streamlined approach this year. I think we've been saying that, or I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now. You can tell there is a definite difference in the approach to recruiting this year. The fact that it didn't get done last year was not lost on many, and not having the type of players needed to get that done also not done. But they're not done. Connor Segian reportedly coming to visit Indiana today. Kobe Bria from Dayton in the portal. Philip pointing out he shot 50% from three with 6 attempts per game. That's a number that you like to see. That number will get you excited. And he would be one that really adds a lot to any roster, specifically to an Indiana roster that has been so poor in shooting. And all these guys that they're bringing along, with the exception of Ballo, pretty damn good free throw shooters, which should elevate Indiana's putrid free throw shooting up. But all kinds of things going on in the portal. It's something you have to track nonstop every day. But Indiana halfway on their way to really replenishing a roster that it won't look anything like it did last year in talent or names for that matter. But on the program today, looking forward to talking to K-Bros. He'll be joining us, filling in for Dylan Sin. Dylan Sin not able to be with us today. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star will be along. The all-star rosters have been announced, and that all happens at the beginning of June, the week of June 3rd, a busy week for the all-stars. And then, of course, the captain, Rick Bozich, will join us as well. But as far as the portal goes for Indiana right now, Oumar Ballo and Miles Rice, a coveted point guard from Washington State, has been added. Now you've got the 7-foot center from Arizona, Oumar Ballo. Indiana in targets several others. Kanan Carlisle, one that's been mentioned a lot. I know we've talked about Conwell. Elijah Malone is another center, 6'10". He has an April 18th visit coming. Farrell Payne, his visit has come and gone. Leland Walker has had to postpone his visit. Carlisle is coming this weekend. As a matter of fact, his visit is tomorrow, as is Amari Williams, previously from Drexel, another center. So Indiana not done in the bigs department. So it's going to be interesting to see the mix between. There's no doubt they're going to try to pull in yet another big. And then it's going to be interesting to see how this offense run. If they're able to land a couple of shooters to go along with this, on top of what they already have in Mackenzie Mbako and Tucker. And then people talk about Leal and Trey Galloway, and on the Hoosier.com, right, or on YouTube, wherever it may be, when I answer some questions, this is going to sound a little harsh, but if Trey Galloway is playing more than 15 minutes a game, Indiana is not very far from where it was last season. But that is why you look at the talent that they are potentially bringing in, and that won't be happening. It will be interesting who is going to be the main shooting guard right now. I don't know that they have that player, but they've got him coming in. So appreciate everybody hitting us up early and often on the Andy Moore Honda hotline from all over. Appreciate all of our peeps listening to on a 97.7 ESPN, the Ref out in Evansville, 1380 The Fan, Fort Wayne's only sports station. Be sure to stay tuned after Indiana Sports Beat Radio for the Sports Rush. And, of course, for those of you listening on WJOB 1230 AM 104.7 FM, the voice of the region. And then on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, Fred from Easton, Pennsylvania, Donald down in Atlanta, Shenanigans in Wabash County, Rex in Yuma, Arizona, Las Vegas, Larry, Brian from Ellerton, Florida, Kevin down in Jeffersonville, from all over, Justin down in Evansville, Dr. Drew from Bloomington. Martin, how are you, sir? Appreciate you. 5 is on board. Jason, and making the comment, only works if Renew comes off the bench. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting because, like I said, I don't imagine they're not going to bring in another big yet. And so you'll have, without question, the big man, Umar Ballo, starting. Will Indiana run a 2 out or 3 out, 4, a 2 in, 3 and 2, or 4 and 1? I can't see. I just can't see Mike Woodson not starting Malik Renew, although I think it would be better for him because of his penchant for fouling. Maybe that would give him an easier time of settling into the game by not starting. But it's going to be a working in plan because they're not done. They've still got open spots to fill. You've got Connor Esigian, who would also be probably a definite role player coming. That would be someone who came off the bench. He came off the bench for Wisconsin last year after a pretty stellar freshman season. But you've got a solid guy there, that would be coming off of the bench. So Indiana looking at refilling the holes pretty nicely. I mentioned Brea from Dayton. So, man, it's just going to be a ton of different names to look at as far as talent. Mike says he's got mixed feelings on Ballo. Well, you can't have too mixed of feelings. He was the number one available player in the portal. Not the 10th or 20th, number one. You can't shoot free throws. He doesn't need to shoot away from the rim. He will rebound. Drawing fouls doesn't do a lot other than putting some teams in foul trouble potentially because he can't shoot free throws. But he's a double-double machine. And double-doubles go a long way. Pat, how are you, sir? Jumping on from Charleston, Indiana, down in southern Indiana. Woodson, Philip pointing out, Mike Woodson will have enough talent next year. Can he win with it? That's going to be on him. And that will be a definite, that adds more pressure. I mean, there's no way that you can have a season like Indiana had this year with the talent that they have coming next year. But I can't imagine that being the case because part of the reason they were what they were last year was guard play. Just pure and simple. The lack thereof. I mean, again, pardon me, but you can't have Gabe Copps and Trey Galloway. That's your guard tandem. Go back and look at UConn. Go back, look at Alabama. Go back and look at Houston. Go back and look at the top level teams and compare that. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do the math there, and I'm not very good at math. Jason says 4-out-1 or 5-out wins in college basketball with Ballo and Renew in the lineup together. That won't work. I'm not in disagreement. I think Indiana and Mike Woodson has to adjust to that. Not saying that he's not going to. The talent will be there, but I'm wondering if he will be able to fight off the urge to have those big guys in there because he made the statement last year, not me, that I still think that college basketball runs through the middle. Well, it doesn't. But next season's a ways off. So you can't, I'm not going to judge something that hasn't happened yet. And there are still plenty of guys in the portal that Indiana's looking at to fill those spots. And hey, they've done a good job. You got to give Mike Woodson and his staff credit right now. They landed Ballo. Not only did they land Ballo, they got him here and landed him, canceled his visit to Louisville. Then there was supposedly going to be a visit to see go down to Arkansas, and Coach John, which I said the main course down there now is John Chicken-Pari, but canceled that visit, or that didn't happen either. So that is a really good sign of getting a guy on campus and locking him down. So got to give him credit for that without question. We've got a lot more coming up. We've got to take a break. K-Bro will join us next, and we'll talk more about what's happening in the world of college basketball, brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda and Autograph. Open the Autograph app today and at either Google Play or your Apple Store. Use the ISB radio code and get more. Back right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the mark, my daggone readers were not up here.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, crap. Where the hell are they?
Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
K-Bro.
What's shaking?
Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Ballo and Bacon.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, just the happenings in the college basketball, the portal.
Of course, yeah.
How is Florida doing in the portal?
You guys are all excited about this. What's his name?
Umar Ballo.
Omar
I
Ballo.
don't know how to pronounce it just yet. I've seen multiple pronunciations of it, so I have no clue how to say
Well,
it.
I don't know. I thought he might have visited Florida last week, or Florida was interested in him, but we would call it. Indiana's got the money, and when you got the money,
And you
That's
got
right, the Brinks
the money, honey. I've got the time.
plus Woodson has a little bit of a track record with bigs. I mean, guards are a different issue, but as we know,
That will be his make or break, honestly, with the fans. If he can prove that he can help out the guards as much as he can with the bigs.
Nope. It all comes down to winning.
Well, I mean, but that's part of winning.
but you need guard play to win.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And if they land a Siege, and that'll be a great role player to land right there, because I know they don't have Carlisle yet. I know they're projected to get him. But if you land Carlisle, all you need left is role players. And if Siege would be a good fit for that role play, one of those role playing scholarships that would be open.
Yep.
Jesus.
Pacers are in the playoffs too, right? Sure,
That
Kristen
is
Area is
correct.
happy, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. Got about 30 seconds till we're back.
Table is located on South Walnut in Bloomington and is your one-stop shop for high-quality meats, bakery items, and now fresh seafood. Chop Shop Market and Table has the largest selection of in-house made products around and everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home. Or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this beautiful Wednesday. It's not really, it rained overnight, but that's okay because now we've got some sunshine with Kevin Brockway, Mr. Sunshine. Before I forget, the annual IU Alumni Association of Greater Evansville Golf Scramble coming up at Sultan's Run in Jasper, Indiana on Monday, May 20th. All proceeds benefit local students through their Greater Evansville alumni chapter. You can email kywking@indiana.edu or reach out to them 812-677-1119. But jump on that. That's a beautiful course if you haven't played it. It's gorgeous, as a matter of fact. Welcome in, K-Bro. How are you, sir?
How's your golf game been recently, Jim?
You know, I have only played twice in 6 months, and I'm gonna be honest with you, shockingly better than I could have ever imagined. It's shocking because it's not that good anyway. But 40s, baby, in the 40s.
Good for you. Good for you. So I snuck into the Circle City over the weekend. Adam Pinkster, who you may know from Wish TV, got married, and I was invited to the wedding. Megan Seal. So give a shout out to them. Everything went well. They had it at one of those theaters downtown. Stayed at the Courtyard. Had a nice, beautiful view of Victory Field and right by the NCAA offices. Took a little walk by the canals there, and it was it was a fun, quick weekend in Indianapolis last weekend. But I kept it kind of low key, Jim. I didn't tell you, so I apologize.
It's okay. I'm used to it. I'm used to being left out. Did you jump out of the cake or anything?
No. And I didn't even have time for karaoke, unfortunately. But it was a good, you know what I mean?
Presses.
Yeah, it was a good little weekend. And you know, it was a little chilly that Friday night, but the weather, you know, got nicer as the weekend went along. And you know, like I said, it was interesting walking around the NCAA building, you know, knowing that that organization right now is in you know, a perilous state, shall we say, with the changes going on with NIL and everything.
Talking about that with Mike DeCourcy yesterday, as a matter of fact, and you know how, and he's adamant that, you know, the regime of Mark Emmert, how they just absolutely. He asked which was a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Incompetent administration, Mark Emmert or that of what's his name with the Pac-12?
Larry Scott.
Yeah,
Larry Scott, and then I forget who was after Larry Scott as well, but it really began in the Pac-12 with Larry Scott. Well, listen, you know, I do think that Charlie Baker is, you know, at least sounds like he's open to change. Mark Emmert was not, and you know, Mark Emmert had some pressure on him on the member institutions at the time as well. But their fight of amateurism, you know, was a slow death in the courts, and I think they probably, in retrospect, tried to hold on to it too long instead of coming up with a solution that would have been, created a far more structure than what we have right now, which is basically disorganized chaos in the NIL world. But you know, I think you know, certainly you know, you look at the player movement now, and it certainly benefited Indiana yesterday. I know a lot of people are very excited about the new transfer addition, Mr. Omar Ballo, and what's the temperature in Bloomington right now in regards to that? And I know, you know, Mike Woodson, I guess last month was taking a lot of heat for losing Liam McNeely. Are things, is he forgiven for this, or does he still have work to do, you think?
I'll say the same thing that I always say to any question like this. Winning cures everything.
Yeah.
If he's able to win, that will be easily forgotten. And maybe worthy of being forgotten, because especially if McNeely's a one and done. Or if, as long as he's able to replace the shooting ability, which there are still guys out there that can probably bring that same shooting ability, but with college experience. And I that's just, to me, I think Indiana is just going to build there from now on. They will definitely still bring in guys like the Trent Sisleys of the world, and Malachi Moreno, Braylon Mullins, the young talent from the state. They'll still go after those guys. But other than that, it's straight to the portal. Why would you not? I mean, I think it would be malpractice not to. If you can go get a guy who is experienced doing exactly what you need, give me the experienced guy every time.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of coaches talk about getting old and staying old, and I think certainly that is the situation right now. What the portal is good for is that you can plug and play guys. I do think the issue, though, is sometimes it's like, if you only have a guy for 1 year, are you building an established core? And certainly we saw the success upstate that Matt Pater had with that. But now he loses Zach Edey, right? Who's
we've seen him have success when he has this once in a generational type of monster player.
Yeah.
That's gone, and he's not going to have that again. He may have another 7-footer, but there's a difference. A lot of people have 7-footers, but Zach Edey was just not a 7-footer. He was very, 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 very different.
Well, and Carson Edwards got him to Elite Eight too, but I do think that, certainly in the Big Ten, if you take a look at it now, Tom Izzo's not getting any younger. I think it's, ripe for the pickings here, but certainly you add the West Coast teams, and that will be interesting to see what dynamic they add or how competitive they are in the league. But I would think for them, a lot of travel too, right, Jim? And that's going to affect them. I think, some of these road trips are not going to be easy as well. So it'll be fascinating to see, and certainly down here in the SEC, we'll have Oklahoma and Texas joining the league as well, these expanded conferences and how it's going to impact the competitive balances of the league. But right now, I think with Edey leaving Purdue, the Big Ten is going to be wide open next season. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I've talked about that very thing, that for a few years going into it each year, we knew who the team or teams were going to be to watch. A couple years ago, it was Indiana and Purdue. And Illinois, maybe. Then the last few years, it's been Purdue and you can stop right there, but Purdue and Illinois. Illinois has been up there, Michigan State, but Illinois has been up there knocking on the door. And is this Brad Underwood's time to kind of get over that hump? Oh man, whack.
Yeah.
Can't believe I said that. Wrap the knuckles. But Brad Underwood has been knocking on the door to get a Big Ten title. And he's always done well in the portal on replacing what he loses. So we'll see what Illinois can get done. I'll tell you another team not to overlook is Ohio State and Diebler. They land Bradshaw from Kentucky, and the run that they went on at the end of the Big Ten season after Ohio State parted with Chris Holtmann, it's still surprising, but a successful run, and it kind of seems that hasn't stopped.
Yeah, and hey, let's not forget Dusty May now at Michigan. What kind of energy is he going to infuse, and are some of those FAU players going to follow him and end up going up there? That's going to be fascinating to watch as well. It should be.
It's funny you bring that up, because I noticed yesterday that both John L. Davis and Golden are still in the portal.
Yeah, and that will be interesting to watch and to see what Dusty does up there as well, in a Big Ten school that you got to think that it was a little surprising to me, because I thought that if he was going to hold out for a Big Ten school, it would be his alma mater, and who knows how that will play out down the road. But the fact that he's in the Big Ten at Michigan, he probably felt like that was the best situation for him. Maybe a better fit than Louisville for him and for his family, and decided to go on that. And speaking of coaching changes, because you brought up Underwood, a little surprised with the hire of Mark Pope. I watched his press conference last night, and it went over. I thought it went over pretty well, and it's interesting for Mitch Barnhart. It's an interesting hire, because I think you're going back to a guy who obviously played at Kentucky on the 1996 national title game, and putting a little emphasis on the front of the jersey instead of the back of the jersey, which you had with John Calipari and all these one and dones and stuff. I think, the one thing about Mark Pope is he's going to bring that back, and maybe he brings back the Kentucky-Indiana rivalry as well.
Yeah, we'll see. Kentucky fans definitely were lukewarm on that, but again, all that matters is winning.
Exactly.
You can let people who think they know more than they do moan and groan, but
he's going to build. I think he's going to build a foundation there. I think he's going to build something that's going to be a lot more sustainable than what Cal had at the end the last 9 years after their last Final Four. That's my opinion.
We shall see. But yeah, there's still lots of targets out there. Like for Indiana, Connor Esigian, apparently going to be visiting today. Indiana, that is. Former Indiana player, East Noble, had a good breakout season as a freshman. His numbers fell off as a sophomore. And so but that's always good to have on your bench. Someone who was proven. You talked about get older, stay older. He's got a couple of years under his belt, especially in the Big Ten. So it's not like he would be getting used to something that he didn't already know. Farrell Payne, a big guy from Minnesota. He is on a visit. I think that I said his visit has already happened. Or no, or is it coming up? Yeah, that happened over the weekend. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff. You've got Elijah Malone, another big man. That's the only fear for Indiana fans. All right, they land Ballo. You've got Malik Renew. They're going to bring in another big without question, which is fine, except for, is Indiana going to run the 3 out, 2 in again, which there's not a team that I've seen. There was no team at the NCAA Final Four that ran that. I mean, you can say Purdue may be a hybrid if you're counting Trey Kaufman-Renn, because he started working inside more, but he's not really a big. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the offense manifests itself.
Well, by big, are you saying size or are you saying skill set?
But
Kaufman-Renn is a big guy. He's like 6'7", 6'8". I mean, he's,
I'm talking about skill set.
Yeah. The other thing that's, fascinating about Trey Kaufman-Renn, it's kind of interesting watching him in the tournament, is remember during the pandemic, we went up to Noblesville and we watched him, and he was this kind of like high-flying transition guy and blocking shots. He's become kind of a plodding player at Purdue. He looks like he's gained a lot of weight in his like lower body and so forth, and he just doesn't look like, the same explosive player that I think we saw and that we thought that he could be when he was the Indiana Gatorade Player of the Year. He's still productive, obviously, and kind of helped Purdue on that run. But I'm curious your thoughts, and if you take that trip down memory lane with him and Logan Duncombe also. We watched him play also.
Yeah, and that's back in the AAU days where guys are younger, they are lighter, they're used to running more, and not having that weight on you makes a difference as well. And when you don't have it, it's kind of hard to be a post-up player if you don't have that. You go up against guys who can just hip check you into the second row. So you're gaining that weight and playing against guys. Hell, like I'm sure there are times he was up against Edey in practice. So that helps as well.
Yeah, no question. But Sellersburg kid, Southern Indiana kid. I know that we all thought at the time that IU had a good shot, and unfortunately did not work out for them. But onward and upward for Indiana, and it sounds like they're doing some good things in the portal.
The one thing that I think Indiana fans are going to wonder about is not wonder, but I've said this and it sounds harsh. It's not meant to be. It's just is what it is. Anthony Leal and Trey Galloway and Gabe Cupps, they're probably not going to see, definitely not the minutes they saw this past season, because if they are, then you're not much better than you were last season. You've got to increase the talent. I think that if you look back at the Final Four, the guards in that, they were just minus Purdue's, who Purdue has good guard play, but we saw what happened when they went against more athletic guards that would challenge them defensively. They were shut down like a.
I think Trey Galloway is an established starting guard, in the Big Ten, and I think he's a useful, and he's got the size where you can kind of throw him on the wing too a little bit. But you're right, they need a point guard. I mean, they need a real quality point guard that can lead, that's dynamic, that's got some scoring ability. That's what they've really been lacking. That's dependable, right? Because Xavier Johnson had some of those qualities, but was not dependable off the court and had issues. And but that's what they need more than anything. I think they need that point guard. They need a guy that and a dynamic one, a guy that can score, a guy that can set up players. A guy that can defend a little bit, at the head of the defense, and those are hard to find. But I think that's I think that's what you need more than anything. And that's what I would be shopping for if I was in Indiana. Really athletic, scoring, complete point guard and a veteran guy. And they're out there. You can find them, but that's what I would shop for.
Well, they've got one coming in Miles Rice from Washington State. The only knock on him is he shot 27% from behind the arc on one made three per game.
Yeah,
now,
you need better shooting.
80+% free throw shooter, though.
Yeah. But you need someone a little more dynamic than that, or a combo guard, just somebody that's gonna, put some fear in you on the perimeter. I think that's what they've been lacking for a number of years, other than Jalen Hood-Schifino, who obviously was a one and done. And someone that was, dependable that way, and that's somebody that's going to have to
find somebody for that 2 spot in replace of Trey Galloway.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, you could play Trey Galloway at the 3 too. It's a 3 guard.
Well, then that's what you have Mackenzie Mbako for. Yep,
that's true, right? And he's coming back. Yep. So yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, or do you tell Trey to just get in the gym and keep shooting? I mean, that's the other thing too. But yeah, you can't have too many guards, basically, and another dynamic combo guard. I mean, this guy Rice, he sounds like he's okay, but if you can upgrade there and get someone even better, I would.
Well, yeah, that's the goal. They're not done. They've got some spots that they can fill. And there's guys that can shoot the ball. Like I said, you've got Connor Sejan. Kanan Carlisle is another one that is expected to potentially commit to Indiana. That's a lot of that is based on hopes by fans, but also him liking certain things, and so that should happen either one way or another soon. Another big thing for Indiana was getting the big man in Ballo, the number one available portal player, to land that. That says a lot that they were able to get him. He canceled a visit to Louisville, canceled an expected visit to Arkansas that was going to follow that. So that was big in being able to lock him down. You've got they've already landed, like I said, the guard from Miles Rice, and Kanan Carlisle is expected to potentially come. You've got Bryson Tucker coming in out of the 2024 class. So they're really starting to put the pieces together, and if they can get this roster built the way it needs to be, Mike Whitson should have all the pieces he needs to win next season.
I think the issue is too, though, with the bigs, because if you're going to play, 3 out, 2 in, 2, you're going to have to find another big that's going to kind of buy into the fact that, hey, look, we're going to have a rotation here because you got Renew back, you've got obviously this Ballo. So you're going to have a guy that, might be, be willing to sacrifice a little bit and stuff. And you could, the other thing too is, I mean, you could play Mbako at the 4 too, you know what I mean? And obviously, like you said, and play more 4 and 1 out as well, and kind of have that flexibility, and I think Mike should do that probably more, but we'll see how that goes. That comes in the coming weeks as well.
Let's take a quick break. K-Bro with us right now. We'll see what's going on. Florida, they have a 7'7" guy coming in. Someone just mentioned. Man, he's almost as tall as you, K-Bro.
Oliver Ryu, yeah, but he's a guy that, I wrote about him last week, and he's a preferred walk-on. He's going to take time to develop. He's not a guy that's going to come in and be a Zach Edey, let's put it that way, So he's tall, but he's got a lot of work to do, basically.
He's no Kevin Brockway. Hey, Boost Fundraiser. If you know someone looking for a fundraiser, Boost Fundraising offers the most unique and easy online fundraiser in the nation, raising more money faster. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Boost Fundraising raises more money easier and faster. Go to boostfundraising.com. Be sure to enter the promo code COIL to receive a discounted fundraiser. Back with more K-Bro after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a
All right.
I got to run, unfortunately, because I got a 10 a.m. meeting and I've got to plug in this photo for the story beforehand. So,
yeah, it's fine. If you got to go, that's totally okay. If you were able to, we do have a hard break in like 15 minutes, so you would be out by 9:30. But if you need to go now, I get it.
Yeah, I need to run, unfortunately. But Jim, it was good catching up, man.
Good to see you, brother. Did you
Yeah.
get some wedding cake?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. We
Awesome.
had fun.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
No worries. No worries. Take care, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
All right.
Holy moly. Whew, I'm glad I got that Oh my God, that makes all the difference in the world.
There you go.
Got that window open.
I like the I win Google Me Hoosier Hank shirt.
I thought you might. That kid from Dayton, isn't that the one that just shoots the freaking stinking lights out of it?
He had a good percentage, yes. And I know Kentucky is going after him as well. Mark Pope is. Excuse me. What's wild, Kentucky's entire roster is, outside of potentially one guy who is yet to say anything, one major contributor, that's Reed Shepherd. They're going to be totally retooled, which is crazy.
And you know what's perfect?
What?
It was not looking good for Indiana coming into the next iteration of the Kentucky-Indiana series. Now they should be on.
Honestly, all three of the local schools, and I'm talking about from my perspective, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, are kind of on an even playing field right now.
Well, Kentucky and Indiana, with the next iteration of this series, Indiana will be on equal footing at the worst with Kentucky instead of being behind.
I think this year specifically, and obviously all the rosters aren't completed yet. We'll have to see what they all look like. I think Indiana will be the best of those three teams altogether. Should be the best of those three teams.
Why does everyone keep saying Carlisle is a lock?
I guess because all the projections are saying he's coming to Indiana. It's probably why people are saying that.
Yeah.
Has he visited?
I do not think he has yet.
And here we go. Just a few seconds left.
Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by The Chop Shop, home of the Indiana football and men's basketball coaches shows. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this wacky Wednesday of portaling. And Indiana with some big-time success already, landing Omar Ballo yesterday as they get that commitment, the number one available player in the portal. They have got more visits coming up, including Elijah Malone, and that one is today, I believe. And then, of course, it's Little 5 weekend in Bloomington. The Little 500 race going on, the world's greatest college weekend. And Amari Williams from Drexel is supposed to be visiting. Kanan Carlisle is supposed to be visiting tomorrow as well. So there's that. We'll see what happens. If Carlisle's a lock, I would expect that to probably happen immediately following. Then that would take up another spot. Man, you need a chessboard, and I'm trying to keep up with everything on. I can't remember, was it 7 or 6 spots originally Indiana started with?
I don't remember the original number, but If they land Carlisle, they will be down to 3 open scholarships.
Okay.
So they're currently sitting at 4 open scholarships.
Then that means it was originally 7 because you've got Tucker, who was in the 2024 class, taking one of those. Then
Yes.
Carlisle would be the 3rd transfer, 4th player coming in. And if there's still 3 spots to go, man, Indiana should be in a pretty damn good position as far as landing a backup big and then either another wing and another guard. That would fill out the roster quite nicely, to be honest with you. If you get the right guys, then run the right offense. Indiana did some things last year that just wasn't great. Shooting the free throws was one of them, but with the exception of Ballo, these guys are all good free throw shooters. That should change a lot. Go back and look at the points left on the board last year. So a lot of people guessing that Ballo cost Indiana $1.2 million. That is, again, rumors from where exactly. I don't know where that rumor comes from.
I know Jeff Goodman. So it was reported that the asking price for Ballo was $1.2 million. And then Jeff Goodman, reported yesterday that apparently Indiana was able to get him for $800,000. And again, that's going off of his word. He is a very in the know guy with college basketball, obviously, but take with that what you will.
And that's why I keep saying, because I know that no player at Indiana has ever been paid $1 million. Not even close. Now they may make that, but it's not coming from one source, not coming from Indiana's NIL. And the 800,000, that's buyable. That one I can buy that, especially as each year goes by, and Indiana gets more and more desperate to return to the point where the fans want them to be, because not winning causes people to start falling away, to not support financially. But there was a run on an additional run on NIL this year, and it looks like they're making good on that. But yeah, don't believe everything that you see, just because, unless it is directly attributed to a direct news outlet. Rumors, just more rumors. And that would affects the next guy. What if you've got a guard coming in that is probably as valuable as, say, Ballo would be in the center? Well, he's going to want, you paid him this, so I want you to pay me that. And I get it, because you think, well, they've got the money. How much more pressure? Well, I don't know that there needs to be more pressure, but Indiana's landing the pieces they need. Let's say they get Carlisle. That'll be a 4th name on the roster with 3 more spots open. Which one will be a big? I'm thinking that if you get Carlisle, you're still going to get at least a wing and another guard and the backup and a backup big name.
I'm with you. And I think those will all be role-playing positions, people who give the main guys a rest specifically. So, and I think a CGN would fill one of those roles very nicely. Obviously, a lot of people are familiar with him around here in Indiana. And then Leland Walker, if he ever gets around to his visit with Indiana, and maybe his talks with Woods and then become more serious, maybe he could fill one of those roles. And then, again, like you said, another big. I don't know what other bigs are the most interested in Indiana right now. But if you're going to be running both Renew and Ballo in at the same time, which I don't see Woodson going away from that. Maybe he will, but I don't believe that he would. You definitely need a third guy to rotate in and out with those two.
We shall see. It's as we just with Mike DeCourcy on yesterday. It's the days of our lives as the sands run through the hourglass. These are the days of our lives. But yeah, the interesting guy, the kid from Dayton, man, that
Kobe Brea, yes,
yeah, that's got to be the highest priority right now. After you've gotten what you've gotten, you add that piece. Mercy. If you've got knockdown shooters, Mackenzie Mbako really came into his own toward the end. And if you add another knockdown shooter and a guy in the middle that can do what Ballo can do, Indiana is looking at potentially being a top 15, top 10 team.
Yeah. At that point, you have all the tools, and then it comes down to whether all the tools work well together and whether or not the coaching staff puts these players in the correct position to be successful.
Don't forget the Indiana football spring game happens tomorrow, sneaking up on us, man. I think I saw the lights on last night from kind of distance away, but looks like they were probably getting some work in under the lights. Is that game taking place on Thursday? But checking out some comments from the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Loading says, and I think this is regarding Kanan Carlisle. He scheduled his visit out until this weekend. He's a lock that he can promise. He says it's a lock he can promise. He hasn't visited anywhere else and is good friends with Rice. And I think sent something out on social media that I saw, and I'm not disagreeing with it because everything has been pointing in that direction. Indiana's going to go from being very guard poor to much better in the backcourt. They're going to get much more athletic immediately, and it's going to be interesting for me to see what happens with Trey Galloway. Not that he's going to go away, but there are so many minutes in a game. And
my belief right now is that he will be. Oh, did I lose you? Oh, you're back now. So my belief right now is that he's going to be the backup for whoever's starting at point guard or shooting guard. I don't believe he'll be the primary starter. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It just depends on, I guess, what the roster looks like in the end. But I think he may be somebody who's the first guy off the bench for Indiana next year.
Well, like I said, I hate it. Sounds harsh, but if he is still your starting at either guard, you did not improve at that spot. And you need to improve at that spot without question. Indiana had some of the worst guard play in the country last year. Although his play elevated, yes, but not to where it needs to be, not to where the Indiana's team needs to be. We talk about Indiana a lot. Purdue, man, what are they going to be like? 6 new faces, but 6 freshmen coming in. And, I know they mentioned that there are 3 starters coming back, but those are the same 3 starters, 2 of which that got shut down again on the big stage. Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, while they're solid, it's going to be interesting to see if Purdue can keep up. I will predict that Purdue does not finish in the top 3 next year. And so we'll see about that. We got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star as the All-Stars. The rosters have been laid out. We'll talk about that and a lot more. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joins us later as well. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
Interestingly enough, all of Indiana's transfers are Pac-12 players.
Yeah, someone mentioned that a minute ago that who would be the third?
It'd be Carlisle would be the third if they get him. You have Rice, Ballo, and Carlisle are the three Pac-12 guys, all from different teams.
Oh, yeah, he's from Stanford, isn't he?
Yep.
No, missing the tournament would be. Well, that would be.
No, there's no.
There would be. There would be.
That'd be the end of the tenure of the Mike Woodson tenure.
Without question.
I think to truly satisfy fans next year, you have to be comfortably in. I'm thinking top 4 seed. And if you at least make the second weekend, I mean, obviously expectations will obviously be to go further than that. But I think bare minimum, you need to make the second weekend as well to keep fans happy.
Got to be in contention.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about Rutgers has got a great recruiting class coming in, man. But
they're also
while
losing
recruiting classes are nice.
It's not all what it used to be.
Yeah.
You have to find the happy medium with your recruiting class, your portal class, and returning guys, which is a lot to balance, honestly.
I think Purdue is in trouble. When you have 6 freshmen coming in.
Here we go, 10 seconds. I'll let Kyle know we're ready for him, so hopefully he'll be on shortly.
Or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Thanks for being with us. Looking forward to talking to Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star and Rick Bozich from WDRB.com in this hour. Don't forget it, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hoosier Hanks. We're, of course, located right off of College Mall Road, where you can find great meals, great places to watch the games. Sometimes you can see me there. Not that that matters, but has an array of custom pizzas, strums, baked wings, mac bowls, fresh salads, and so much more. Dine in, carry out, or have Hank cater your next event. Hoosier Hanks is a great place to watch the games or gather with the team after the game, and you can use their exclusive party room for your next gathering. Order online at HoosierHanks.com or visit them at 1285 South College Mall Road. Was there last night and had a delicious salad. Thank you very much. Kyle Neddenriep from Indy Star joining us. Kyle, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Jim?
Oh, brother, just trying to track this thing called the portal. It's an ever-moving target.
Sure is.
I know that I was just talking about the recruiting classes. You look at Indiana, they are bringing in, they're going to probably end up bringing in one guy in the 2024 class, I would guess. And that was with 7 openings. I think that they end up pulling in 6 portal guys. Then you look at Purdue, who, granted, Matt Painter has been doing things differently, but they've got 6 freshmen coming in. And when you are losing Zach Edey and losing someone like Mason Gillis, who was a definite contributor, I think they're poised for a pretty good step back. Although I know they've got some players, they've got 3 starters back, but man.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a chance last week to go cover that team and kind of, get, obviously, the program and know Matt Painter, and I covered a lot of those guys who are on the team and even on the staff, PJ Thompson and Sasha Stevanovic and Brandon Brantley, who I knew from when he was coaching AAU and at Ben Davis. And, it's a different way they're going about it than most programs are. And Matt Painter even said, hey, we'll see if this continues to work. I mean, it's not like you don't adjust to new information and try to, improve yourself. And I don't think he's closing the door on portal at all. But this is kind of the way they've done it, and it's worked for them. Now, can you do this without, everybody's going to say, well, we'll see if you can do it without Zach Edey, and that'll be different, obviously. And we'll see what they end up doing. But, I think this is probably what they're most comfortable, how the manner they go about it. And that's a lot, 6 kids coming in who are high school age coming in is a big chunkier roster, obviously. So yeah, I mean, you're not going to have the experience next year other than those guys who are coming back. You're not going to have incoming players who have the experience of a 6-man transfer class like IU's going to have. So yeah, I mean, you would think a step back. I mean, obviously a step back. I don't think anybody expects you to make the national championship game every year. This was a big breakthrough for them. I think it kind of gets a little bit of pressure off, maybe unnecessary or unfair pressure, but you probably had to have something like that to, get the 16 seed thing out of everybody's mouth. And they did that. So you got to tip your hat to what they were able to accomplish. And now we'll see what it looks like moving forward. I think, after the game against UConn, I was kind of like, man, they really couldn't match up at some positions, but then it's like, well, they were playing UConn. So, I mean, it's just that no one could. So I don't know. I think they're still going to be right at the top of the Big Ten or close to it. But yeah, I think it's fair to say you would expect a step back. It just matters how big that step is.
I just, in the segment before, I said I would be surprised if Purdue finishes in the top 3 of the Big Ten next year because of what it looks like Indiana is going to have added to their roster. Brad Underwood has just done a job year in and year out. He has been waiting. I'm like, is this Illinois' time? Is this Brad Underwood's time now that Zach Edey's kind of out of the way? Because he's been very successful in rejuvenating his roster year after year. They just haven't been able to get past that certain point, although last year was a good run. But they will go back and reload. Ohio State, Diebler is doing a great job there. They just landed a kid from Kentucky, the transfer, and he looks like he's going to be doing a good job. And another thing that's been amazing to me are the amount of Indiana kids that were available in this portal. Connor Esigian apparently going to be visiting Indiana today. You had Tony Perkins, Connor Hickman, Leland Walker, and I'm sure I'm leaving that many or more out.
Yeah, it really has been interesting. Esigian's such an interesting case, based on how he played his freshman year, and then this past year was just so strange of a season, it seemed like, but very intriguing player, really good athlete. just a guy that I really thought highly of coming out of high school and then his freshman year. So that's interesting. Hickman, I think the Drew Adams connection, I'd been hearing, Cincinnati was probably going to be the play for him. I think it's you only have 1 year. So in his case, probably makes sense to go somewhere, the staff maybe a little bit better, even though Bloomington's your hometown. I think the connection there definitely matters more. But yeah, it's just been, Tony Perkins going to Missouri. That's obviously really, big for Missouri. Unfortunately, it takes him out of the Big Ten, which I enjoyed watching him play on the Big Ten Network. Gave me a reason to watch Iowa, I guess, where I could have cared less. But yeah, so it's just there's a lot. I mean, you look up and down the list, and there's just so many different Indiana players and guys you thought were going to be at a certain place the whole career, and they're not. And I guess it's just the way it is anymore. But it's like a whole. I mean, I know it's been said a million times. It's just like a whole free agent period. We go through every year now in the spring.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Connor Hickman. I think that he was also I've seen a lot where he was really wanting to be a starter, and that was not going to be guaranteed with Indiana. I'm sorry, I'm surprised that anybody can guarantee that at this moment. Most coaches won't do that. They'll say, hey, you'll get that opportunity, but I can't, guarantee you that. That's up to you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that personally, if that's the case or not, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I think even if there's a guarantee or not, I think probably a connection to the coaching staff that goes back when he was recruited at Bradley, to be honest with you. So, there's obviously something there that makes him comfortable, whether it's that or not. I don't know that personally, but yeah, I mean, you go from being such a, all Missouri Valley Conference player at Bradley, I'm sure you want to go somewhere where you're going to, not sit the bench your senior year or have a minor role. You want to go into something where you think you're going to be an impactful player. So I get that completely.
And another thing is we're seeing more and more. I mentioned Indiana will probably bring on one 2024 kid this year out of 7 spots that they had open. I think that you're going to see more and more of that. And I understand to a degree because experience matters. And if you can get someone who has got a year in conference play under their belt, possibly 2, well, why would you not go there unless you've got a generational kid coming out of high school, and then you fill it in along the way. Like next year, Indiana has got a couple targets like Trent Sisley and Braylon Mullins, Malachi Moreno, those guys who they would definitely like to bring in, of course, but you can blend that in. And I think Indiana had not been at a point to where they could properly blend that yet. And now they're getting there under Mike Woodson.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key is you don't want to completely turn your roster over year by year. I mean, that's even if you're getting talented players every year, it's hard to, to generate consistency and continuity and all that. I mean, that's kind of what Purdue's going for, right? I mean, they're the continuity program that to the extreme, So, I think some of that obviously is good. Maybe not to that extent. Do you need to be successful necessarily? But if you're just constantly, even with talented rosters, you don't know how things are going to mesh. You don't know how, players are going to interact. There's no background connection there if you're doing it that way every year by year. So in this world, we're going to have a lot of turnover. Most programs are obviously. So I think the chemistry and all that is just so important, so I think if you can have a combination, like you said, of the two, or, the Purdue model of, kind of going the high school route has worked for them. But I think that's just, and we'll see. I mean, that's maybe an outlier and maybe that works for them and not for others. And maybe it is a year by year situation as well. I mean, you may have a run where you have 2-3 years where you have kind of the same team and then you jettison and you have transfers and you kind of restart. It just may happen quicker than it used to. I think that's just kind of everything happens quicker anymore in our world, it seems like, and this is college basketball is definitely part of that.
And also, I saw that you guys have named not you guys, but you're part of the Indy Stars, part of the Indiana All-Stars have been named. The roster was put out. When does Mr. Basketball not named yet, though, right?
No, we'll have our banquet on Tuesday. Was it a week from? So 6 days from now, we'll have our Indy Sports Awards banquet, Indiana Sports Awards banquet at Butler, and we'll name that. I think we're going to put out our finalists tomorrow for that. I mean, you can guess who some of those are for sure. So, but yeah, we've done it that way probably most of the last 7, 8, 9 years, something like that, and then COVID kind of threw a wrench in that. But then we've come back with this awards banquet, and it's been a good way to honor the not only the winner, but the finalists, and also a lot of other sports as well. Bringing back some of the like the Miss Basketball winner's been announced already, but some of those people also are able to be in other sports all of the sports really. So, but yeah, that'll be next Tuesday at Butler.
Yeah, I think I could gain or guess the top two, but I'll just say that they probably are going to be attending Purdue and Kansas.
I think you'd be right on with those two.
And lots coming up, not until June, really. But, man, the week of June 3rd is going to be a busy, busy week. You've got the Future Stars game, which freshmen and sophomore in the state that are coming up. Then the juniors versus the seniors a couple days later. And then that weekend, of course, down in Lexington, and then back at Gainbridge on Saturday, the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star Series takes place. But that's a busy, busy week that you got about 6 weeks or so before that happens, I guess. 7.
Yeah, so they moved the Kentucky game down to Lexington Catholic, so we'll see how that goes. Seems like they bounced it. It was in Owensboro there for 3 years, I want to say, which was it was good. I enjoyed the the venue down there, but I don't know. We'll see. They kind of bounced it around, and then the Futures game this year is just freshmen and sophomores. So last year they had juniors involved as well. This one will just be, and they moved the date. So last year they had it on the Saturday of the All-Star game and everything. So now it'll be on the Monday, I believe, of that week. So that'll be a little bit different. That'll be at HSE, and I think it's a good thing to probably take the juniors out of it and start playing the junior All-Stars anyway. So that's just a little bit of a change up this year. The second year they've done that game, and I think it's a good people want to see the up and coming players, I think, and this is a good way to kind of do that. I mean, that's probably more interesting to people anymore than maybe even the Indiana Kentucky game. But yeah, it's always a cool thing to see the Indiana All-Stars be announced. I was impressed. IU Indianapolis, the formerly IUPUI coach Paul Corsaro got a big commitment from Keenan Garner yesterday. The Fisher's Indiana All-Star from Fisher, so a good get for them right off the bat. To he offered him day one on the new job, and Garner committed yesterday. So pretty good pickup already for IU Indianapolis. It's going to take me a while to get that straight. IUPUI to IU Indianapolis a little bit.
Trust me, I know. I hear you. It's hard to say IUI.
yeah. IU Indy. I'm not sure what's the shorthand is going to be exactly.
Yeah, UND is easy, but that's not. I guess who knows? Too many acronyms. Something else that I noticed is normally there are the rosters of the senior rosters just littered with big time schools, and I know there's been talk that this class is just down a little bit from others. There's not as many big time Division I recruits on this particular roster. I mean, there are some. You got Benner going to Purdue and Badunga going to Kansas, and I'm sure I'm leaving a couple off, but there's not a ton.
Yeah, KJ Wyndham going to Northwestern, but yeah, other than that, Micah Davis from Franklin's going to Eastern Kentucky. I think he's the guy who may be one of those, if he plays well, could play at a higher level as well. But but anyway, yeah, I mean, that's definitely the case with this class. I mean, I think it's we've kind of known for a while, but also it's partially, I think, too, like just the nature of the way that I think it's a combination. The high school kids just aren't maybe being recruited where like they used to be. You may have some kids on there who I think end up at a higher level, but maybe they're just not getting the recruitment right now. And you throw in also like Cannon Catchings would have been on there, so you're losing kids here and there to prep schools and whatnot. So that waters it down slightly. But I think it's a combination. I think this class just wasn't as deep overall. I think there's some good players in there too that, like I said, could end up at a higher level, but maybe aren't right now just because of the portal. And then, it's just, so I think it's several different things, but yeah, it is noticeable. You just don't see as many high, power five, what is it, power four now? Again, not power five, power four conference schools on there. And yeah, that's definitely, it stands out this year for sure.
We'll certainly look forward to it. Connor Asigian, one of those kids that went from East Noble to Wisconsin and now is visiting Indiana today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. So I've kind of figured he'd be in the portal after this past season. So, but yeah, I think he's a guy. I mean, like I said, I think he can play.
Kyle, appreciate you as always, my friend. What's up next for you?
Just rolling out a lot of our postseason basketball stuff and kind of that time of year where it's a lot of miscellaneous. Like I said, Mr. Basketball finalists, I believe, will be out either tomorrow or Friday. So working on a lot of postseason stuff and then recruiting stuff here and there, coaching changes, and then hopefully taking some time off.
Well, you're well deserved. I can promise you that. Just take the whole summer off, man.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Freethink. Whatever you need done, as far as if it's 20 T-shirts for a family reunion or 200 for your upcoming softball league, their team of industry experts works with you to design a professional-looking sales-generating web store for your custom-designed apparel. From large corporations to high school sports teams, national accounts, pro-led athletic camps, Freethink Apparel delivers. Visit freethinkapparel.com today. Back with more, including Rick Bozich, after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Formerly.
All right, I'm going to let Rick know we're ready for him. And just so I don't have to interrupt during the segment, are you going to take him long or are you going to divide his segment into two?
What do we normally do?
You just kind of do whatever. That's why I wanted to ask.
That helps me.
I think it's always good. I mean, if you're planning on taking them pretty long, I think it's good to split it up and then just do different topics when you switch it over. But we'll see.
Yeah, especially if you can. There he is.
Excuse
Hi,
me.
guys.
Hello.
How's Ruby?
She had her 2-week checkup yesterday, and they said she was on track. So
she'll be back by the playoffs.
She's got 6 more weeks of restricted movement. Hopefully by 1st of June, she'll be somewhat normal.
So she's probably not getting a lot of hits from the portal.
I just posted a column 3 minutes ago about my love-hate relationship with the portal.
I think I just saw that.
I love it and I hate it. Who are they getting
next?
I
think there's a lot of people that if it works great for your team, you love it. If it doesn't, you freaking hate it.
Has Caleb Banks committed anywhere? Or is he? I haven't even heard anything on him.
You know what?
He's the only one of the 3 that jumped in that doesn't have a landing spot yet.
And today is the Segians visiting today. Is that right?
Supposedly, yes.
And really? Carlisle visits this weekend.
Carlisle? Yeah, that's the one they're supposedly in good shape with.
Yep.
Apparently so.
What about that kid from Minnesota? Didn't he visit over the weekend? He's out because they got Ballo.
I think that someone just mentioned he unfollowed everybody on IU guys on social media.
Oh,
And
really?
I'm like, well, why would you do that? That's kind of dumb. That's a tell.
He could have easily been the backup because they're still going to need one more big, more than likely.
Right. Aren't they going that dude from Grace College? Isn't that who they want as the backup?
Is that Elijah?
Yeah, Monroe.
Yeah,
I think that's his name.
Malone.
What was the deal with Hickman? Why did Hickman go to Cincinnati? Playing time?
Kind of what seems to be the. Am I still on?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, everything went black. That's been the word, but I don't have that confirmed.
All right, 10 seconds, guys. Here we go.
6 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, and that means the Captain Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joining us, brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, right off of I-65 down in southern Indiana on Veterans Parkway. Pizza, burgers, beer, over 51 big screens to watch all the games and whatever you want, and food made fresh daily. Rick joining us. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I've just posted a column about my love-hate relationship with the transfer portal as we were talking off camera, and I'm sure a lot of fans feel the exact same way.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that. Louisville, Kentucky, and Indiana. Man, this is a year for all three of those programs, the likes we haven't seen in a long time. Kentucky and Louisville both going through a coaching change. Has that ever happened at the same time before?
Not in basketball. In football, it happened in, I don't know, like 2012 maybe. Joker Phillips got fired and Mark Stoops came in, and I think Charlie Strong left. And I think it happened at there was a point where it happened at both schools in football.
With the series, Indiana-Kentucky series being the next iteration of that coming in another year or so, I think that the coaching change was probably beneficial for Indiana. It has allowed them to it's given Mike Woodson the opportunity to regroup and learn from his differences of opinions in recruiting the college game now and understanding the portal and how to use that and what level of talent needed. I don't know that Indiana won't be in front of Kentucky at that point. We'll have to wait and see. Mark Pope, winning cures everything. So for all the people that are not all up and down about having him as coach, all he has to do is win. The same at Louisville. And it's going to be the same at Indiana. Someone asked earlier about, will getting guys like Ballo, erase losing someone like Liam McNeely. And I'm like, buddy, winning cures everything. You win, and it's a short memory. But it's going to be interesting for Indiana because they're in position to potentially land the number one portal recruiting class. When you land the number one available target there, that's a good start. And you've added Miles Rice. Kanan Carlisle's probably going to be added onto that list at a minimum, and they'll still have 3 other spots to add.
Yeah, I mean, if they finish this the way they have planned, I would think they would have the number one portal recruiting class. Doesn't guarantee anything that other than you're going to have a talented team when you start the season. Mike Woodson will have to answer some other questions about him. Namely, did he get the right pieces that fit together in the right way? And then is he going to employ them in the right way and attack, schematically in the way he needs to for Indiana to succeed? But, this is 2 years in a row he's gotten the best center out of the portal. So that's a big plus. And I'm sure it's obvious that that's going to be part of his recruiting strategy going forward, saying Trace Jackson Davis, Khalil Ware, Omar Ballo, if you want to be a big man to get to the NBA, I can get you there. Here's the proof. In that Jackson Davis probably wasn't going to be drafted after his sophomore year. Now he's not only drafted, he started for the Golden State Warriors. I know they got eliminated last night, but he started for that team and probably was one of the top 10 rookies in the NBA. Khalil Ware was known as a guy who was an underachiever. Comes to IU, has a good year, will probably get taken in the first round, and now Ballo will have the same opportunity.
Without question, and but I think he needs to add a couple of other positions to that resume where he can say that, because then that's when you start to build a yearly. They're chasing you instead of you chasing them, sort of a deal. Which
sure.
People like Calipari. I'm not saying he was successful coaching, but he was successful landing. He could get the fish in the boat and produce NBA talent, but the fans didn't see the lack of being able to win a national championship. Wasn't enough to satisfy them, I guess.
Well, and Mike Woodson needs to speak to the constituency that's most important to him, and that's the IU basketball fan. Getting these players is important. Winning with these players is the most important. Not missing the NCAA tournament is the most important. Not missing the NCAA tournament in a year when Purdue goes to the NCAA championship game is important. And, that's what I think he'll get some people back on board with these recruits. But until next year, when the games start and they play whoever they have on the schedule next year to replace Kansas or some of the Connecticut who they played this season, and play a top level team and actually beat one of them or not get beat by 20 points by one of them, then people will see some evidence. I mean, that's the issue. I mean, people didn't like how uncompetitive Indiana was against good teams. They didn't like the long losing streaks, and they certainly didn't like not making the NCAA tournament. So those are the boxes he needs to check.
Absolutely. And with the types of players that he is landing, and they're dynamic, like I said, Ballo, Rice, the other dude that I just said his name,
Carlisle,
expected to come on board. You've got someone like Trey Galloway, who has been a stalwart for this team, but I've said that if he's starting, you're not as good as you should be. If you're watching these other teams, if you're watching the guard play from whether it's Houston or whomever, you have to be at another level. And he has shown a penchant for sticking with his guys. I don't know how that's going to go next year, but I don't see Trey Galloway starting over the guys that are coming in personally.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Trey Galloway is a tremendous player. He's loyal, coming back for his fifth year. He does a lot of really good things, whether it's defensively, definitely distributing the ball, got a really high assist rate. But he can't do the one thing that really matters in today's college basketball game in the backcourt, which is shoot the ball, other than those set shot threes that he gets sometimes when he's wide open. And I think that limits Indiana's ceiling when he's on the floor. I would say he'd be a great 20 to 25 minute guy off the bench. Backup point guard, backup point guard for a while, primary ball handler, backup two guard for a while because he can defend, maybe a little backup at small forward. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that a Carlisle Rice backcourt would be a better one with Galloway coming off the bench. And then, it's going to be up to Newton and Cups and Leal. And if they recruit somebody else, obviously they got Connor Segian coming in today. Those guys will have to fight for minutes. And that's the way it should be. When you have a good team, that makes you better, first of all, because it increases competition every day in practice. And B, it cushions you against any kind of injuries or foul trouble.
Exactly. I talked about that earlier, that you've got to have guys that are pushing each other, that are almost 1A and 1B. And if not, then you're not getting better.
But look at Purdue this year, Jim. I mean, Caleb First was a starter, and Ethan Morton started every game up pretty much for the last couple of years. I mean, they started a lot of games, and those dudes Ethan Morton, all he did in the NCAA tournament was come in and commit fouls, and First just played barely at all. And they, I know they're both in the portal now. They don't want to do it again. No, First isn't. Gillis is, and Morton is. But I mean, some of those guys don't want to do it again. But that's the way it has to be on a good team. I mean, you're not given anything. I mean, that shouldn't just be words that coach utter. It should be reality. If you're not producing, then you got to sit.
Absolutely. Purdue now is going in a different direction they lose Mason Gillis to the portal, right. Ethan Morton to the portal,
right.
Zach Edey is gone, and 6 freshmen coming in. And these aren't 6 5-stars coming in. And that is a lot at one time in this day and age, especially. I don't see how Purdue does not take a pretty good step back, far enough that I don't see them in the top 3 of the Big Ten next year, even though we don't even know what the Big Ten is going to look like.
Yeah, I think they'll take a step back. I mean, they lose the National Player of the Year, 2-time National Player of the Year. I mean, that rarely happens. But you got Smith, you got Lawyer, you got First is there, Trey Coffin-Wren, huh? Heidi. Colvin, I think, will take a step forward. And, even probably Waddell will play some. He's been there for 2 years, getting better. I mean, Painter, I give Matt Painter props because that's his MO. That's his plan. That's what he's committed to. He's not going to change. They're not going to go crazy in the transfer portal. They're going to strategically look at the guys that they fit their system and fit into their culture. And I think Purdue will have a year where, yeah, they might finish 3rd, 4th, 5th in the Big Ten. They'll make the NCAA tournament. I wouldn't think they would make a big run, and then they'll sort of, gather their momentum and gather the pieces together and make another run in a year or two. Didn't they have a big guy sitting out this year who didn't play much? He'll probably be better than we thought. Better than we thought, because we didn't think Edey would be this good. We didn't think Harms would be what he is. There's another. There've been some Haas is another one. I mean, we can go down the line of the big guys Purdue's had through the years who weren't McDonald's All-Americans, but were good Big Ten players. So that's their plan. It's worked, and they're not. Matt Painter's not gonna. He's not a guy who's gonna change his plan because of what other people are doing. He finds inefficiencies in the college basketball recruiting market, and he exploits them.
And he has done that quite well in the past, no doubt at all. The Big Ten is going to look different next year, though, with Purdue. Their 2 years of reign of terror that they have ran over the Big Ten has come to an end with the loss of Edey. And I've mentioned, it could be Illinois that takes that step up. Brad Underwood has done a really good job, it seems, every year rejuvenating his roster. Ohio State under Diebler they just picked up the kid Bradshaw from Kentucky,
right? And Meechie Johnson really from South Carolina. Yeah, they got Meechie Johnson, the point guard from South Carolina, who started at Ohio State and was really good at South Carolina for 2 years, to come back to Ohio State. So yeah, I think they'll be good. I think they've had one guy in the portal. Illinois lost a couple guys in the portal, but Underwood's done that before, and Shannon will be gone. So Illinois will be good. I'm trying to think. Doesn't Wisconsin have a lot of their guys back? I think they'll still be pretty good. All the other rosters are so much in flux that it's hard for me to get the hand. I mean, Rutgers is going to be good because they have 2 McDonald's All-Americans coming in, although they lose Big Cliff. I saw his list before I heard was 4, now it's 12. So he's going the wrong direction.
Five was pointing out the Pac-12 had a fire sale, which is true. Indiana's on. If they get Carlisle, that'll be 3 Pac-12 players coming onto their roster.
Yeah, Ballo at KenPom was considered the 3rd most efficient player in the league, and Miles Rice was voted the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. I think Carlisle was honorable mention All Freshman team. So yeah, those are talented pieces that Indiana's getting, and we'll see how they stop. They still have to get at least one shooter. They didn't get Connor Hickman, who's going to Cincinnati. I know Esigian is the kid from Wisconsin up in Central Noble, Indiana, is visiting today. I saw their name mentioned this morning was some kid from Dayton who had
Kobe.
But his list was pretty extensive. They got to get a guy, a Nick Zeisloff type dude. That's what they need. They need a Nick Zeisloff.
Absolutely. That's someone that they can count on to hit that shot. Mackenzie Mbako, his game finally started to come around at the end of last year, and he is going to be a potent weapon for Indiana. But if they, I agree, if they had another guy on the other side doing that, it's pick your poison. It becomes pick your poison. Then you're going to throw it into Umar Ballo, who's been a double-double machine. They're going to be in pretty good shape.
Should be. And I think Rice is the kind of guy who he's great off the dribble. I read somewhere that he was like one of the best finishers for freshman guards in the country. And he does share the ball at a good rate. His three-point shooting, he had one stretch where I think he went 0 for 22 or 0 for 23, which really it brought his percentage down under 30%. But most people, he's an 81% free throw shooter. So that tells me he can shoot the ball. A lot of guys make a jump in their three-point shooting percentage between their freshman and sophomore years because they're more comfortable. So, yeah, they've got a number of pieces. They just need one or two more. Probably need a backup center because they don't really have one at this point. I guess it's Malik Renew.
Daniel says that Joe Lenardi has Purdue going in as a 3 seed next year. Let's see if he adjusts that, which is the best out of the.
Well, they lose what? Jones and Edey. Those are the two big ones, right? Two starters. And
Mason Gillis,
who did not start though at the end of the year.
No, he was their fourth.
And Ethan Morton, who was
fourth,
just a veteran player, but he didn't contribute much this year. It'll be a year of adjustment. They're still going to be good. I mean, they're going to be. It'll be hard to go into Mackey Arena for any team in the Big Ten and win next year. It still will be.
We've got to take a break. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The Captain Rick Bozich with us from WDRB.com. When we come back, we'll talk about the transfer portal itself. And how much do you like it? How much do you hate it? But either way, there ain't nothing you can do about it. No. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
When's the spring game? Tomorrow night?
It is.
Yeah.
Are you going?
Yes, sir.
I saw they lost 2 guys in the portal yesterday.
Yeah, quarterback
Brock Lowry.
Brock Lowry, yeah.
He was running 4th team.
But they've got like 18
Taven
quarterbacks.
and Cherry. And plus you're bringing in Mendoza, who's not even on campus yet.
Right. Be interesting to see where he lands. I don't know.
I heard Jeff Brom's interested in Trent Howland.
He is?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you didn't know.
No, he is. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll end up picking Louisville, but I heard that he's interested in picking him up. I don't know if he'd be their primary running back, but he'd probably be a good role player for them.
They've lost the best guy they recruited out of the portal, the running back from Toledo's already said he's leaving.
Is it Penny Boone? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had a weird career because he started at Maryland.
Oh,
right?
he did?
And then went to Toledo and then went to Louisville, and now he's off somewhere else again, something like that.
I don't know. That's the thing about the portal. It's
well, the Kamari Lands too. He'll be with his 6th school in 6 years, I believe, this season for basketball.
Matt Cross. Archie,
that is absolutely insane.
Archie's big recruits one year, he wanted Ethan Morton and Matt Cross. Matt Cross started at Miami, went to Louisville, went to UMass. Now he's leaving again.
I don't want to say the one bad thing, but the bad thing or a bad thing about the portal is that a lot of kids get bad advice and they're going to take it 8 times out of 10, it seems like.
Here's the thing, and I know that nobody cares about this, but how could you possibly get a degree when you're transferred this many times?
I was wondering that. I mean, there's no way that your credits transfer everywhere.
Really? I mean, how could you?
And how much, well, I wonder how much that'll affect Dusty May at Michigan, because Michigan's a harder school to get into than some other schools.
Yeah, it will.
I think that's maybe why Someone had mentioned why John L. Davis has not.
I mentioned that yesterday.
Or it was you? Yeah, I knew someone had. And neither has Golden. Neither of his big-time players, which I thought would follow him to Michigan, they're still in the portal.
It's interesting. Has he gotten any of the FAU guys to Michigan yet?
Not. I don't think so.
Those are the top two.
But they haven't committed elsewhere, so I guess they're trying to work it out.
Yeah. All right, 10 seconds, guys.
Perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Brought to you by the Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria Island, Florida. If you're already in the area, or you will be, the Ugly Grouper has much more than just unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you have ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them we sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com. Rick Bozich, the captain, with us from WDRB.com. And fresh off the presses, as I use that term lightly, as there are no longer any presses anywhere, it seems like. Well, you worked in the press day.
Oh, yeah.
You worked in the day of the presses.
Oh, yeah, the Courier-Journal.
How much does a newspaper guy miss that?
I miss it. I used to buy multiple newspapers a day. I'd buy sometimes the Lexington paper, sometimes the Indianapolis Star. I'd go to remember Hawley Cook bookstores that used to be in Louisville. They used to bring in all the Sunday papers from all over the country. And I'd go in there. Sometimes they didn't get there till Monday or Tuesday. I'd go in there and pick up a Chicago Tribune and a Boston Globe and a LA Times and bring them home and read them during the week. Or for a while, I had a mail subscription to the Philadelphia Daily News because I loved their sports writers so much. So, yeah, I used to have stacks of newspapers all over my house.
I used to read the Courier every day with a young sports director named Rick Bozich at the helm.
Back when I had curly hair, right?
It was a little darker.
It was a little darker. That's correct. But yeah, they bought state-of-the-art printing presses from Germany like 15 years ago. And then things went south with the internet and the whole building that they built to put the presses in, and the presses are just sitting idle. I think the Louisville paper is now printed in Cincinnati, the Indianapolis Star's like printed in Peoria, and the Lexington Herald Leader's printed in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm pretty sure for a lot of these papers, the deadline every day is 4 p.m. Used to be 1 a.m. Now it's 4 p.m.
It's nuts. You just put out a piece in regarding your love-hate relationship with the transfer portal, and I think that there are a lot of people that fall into this camp. Unfortunately, it is what it is. Mike DeCourcy was on with us yesterday talking about how the NCAA has just, they've fallen on their face so many times, but never have they fallen on their face more than with where college athletics is now, because it could have been a slower climb to get to this point all at once, and we are where we are, and it's basically free agency, and some schools are become feeder schools to the bigger programs, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I hate to be ridiculously idealistic, but as I mentioned to you off camera, part of this is supposed to be about education and academics, and the one thing that's never talked in this about is like what is going to be the effect, what is going to be the outcome of this on guys getting degrees. You can't transfer 2 or 3 or 4 times and tell me that at the end of that period, you're going to be in position to earn a degree. It's unrealistic. It's impossible, in my opinion. And the NCAA has just they've surrendered. It's not like they've just given up. They've done nothing. It's just happening. And I describe them as the 98. I'm old, showing my age, but it used to be in magazines. They had the Charles Atlas advertisements where the 98-pound weakling got sand kicked in his face. And that's who they've become. I mean, they really have. The players have all the power.
And it happened almost overnight.
Yes, it did. It's better than being a pro. If you're a pro, you got to sign a contract usually for 2 or 3 years. And if you get in a situation where you don't like it, too bad. You got to tough it out. Now, like we were mentioning off camera, there's a running back who's come into Louisville from Toledo back in January. And their spring game is Friday night. And he's already announced he's out of here before he's even played a game. Kenny Payne had a basketball player who recruited and came in here and got paid some of his NIL money over the summer, and he left in August before classes began. It's crazy.
Caitlin Clark, number 1 pick in the WNBA, takes a pay cut to go to play professionally. Her contract released yesterday. She's going to make about $78,000 a year playing for the WNBA, which I laugh about because she's making 10 times that in endorsements, which is not the point, I guess. But at the same time, I'm not saying that it should be equal to a men's rookie contract, which could be upwards of 10 million, because it's based on TV revenue. It's not based on anything else. So before anybody gets on this, it's got to be equal. No. There's a reason why even the women's national soccer team, they complained about not getting the same as the men. It wasn't because America was paying the men more or the government. It's because the men's soccer overall TV audience generated that kind of revenue, and that was their cut. But it's just funny how what a pay cut that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Caitlin Clark has a chance to be for the WNBA what Tiger Woods was for the PGA Tour, somebody who can raise the level for everybody. She's already raised the interest level in women's college basketball. There's encouraging signs that she's going to do it for the WNBA. I heard a figure yesterday on PTI of, how many of her games are going to be on national television. We saw the crowd they had at the draft party at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We know when she plays her first few games, at least for the Fever, the place is going to be sold out. If it translates to more viewers for the WNBA, it'll pull everybody else along with her. That'll be the next question. And we've talked about this before in the past. There were more stars in women's college basketball this year than there were in men's college basketball. There was Caitlin Clark, there was Angel Reese, there was Hannah Hidalgo, there was Juju Watkins. I mean, I can name a bunch of them. Can you name the 5 guys this year who are the All-Americans in men's college basketball? I mean, Zach Edey, maybe Hunter Dickinson, R.J. Davis at North Carolina. After that, I don't know. I mean, so the star power shift is the women's game. Now that has to translate for people want to watch it in the WNBA.
And to be fair, once she gets out of that rookie contract, well, then that number is going to go up substantially, 3 to 4 times. I know that veterans make a lot more money. It's getting through that rookie contract. So we'll see how that goes. But getting back to your piece on the portal, Kentucky is different because they've not really been a program. They've maintained a roster of guys that you generally come from everywhere else, where Indiana used to be under Bob Knight, like Purdue is now. And that has kind of gone away. Although I think that next year you may see a little bit more of a blend with Mike Wood. I think it's been timing. They didn't, when he came in, he wasn't tied into guys in the state to land, and so they use the portal. And now in this what will be the fourth season, he'll be set to bring in potentially guys like Trent Sisley or Braylon Mullins, Desmond Briscoe, some guy like that, and potentially a Kentucky player like Malachi Moreno, who all play for Indiana Elite. But it's about mixing all of that. I think you got to have a little bit of the homegrown guys, because the state of Indiana produces a crap ton of talent. That's why there's so many Indiana guys available right now to so many places. But there's also talent is everywhere, and who improves at what rate can't be determined. The same guys can go to the same school, and one can get better in 1 year and be ready to move on. So it's Indiana fans or whomever, they're going to have to get used to that. And I think Purdue fans are going to eventually have to get used to it, because I think that will eventually catch up to them, just because of how the portal is changing the game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think in the end, a blend will probably be the best way to go. And I think ideally what you'd like to do is have your core of guys who are, second or third year players who've been in your system, understand how you coach, know your culture, know your locker room, run the locker room, and then you strategically fill in the spots where you have voids with players that fit your need. I think that'll be the challenge next year for Mike Woodson, coming in with 4 or 5. I think will be the minimum number of guys into the portal, and get them to sort of become a cohesive team and mix with the guys who were there last year. A number of them who were used to playing will be a challenge. We'll see how he navigates that. And for Purdue, they've got the nucleus. They just don't have their best guys. I'll be interested to see if Painter tries to get a center out of the portal, or whether he just goes with first and the big guy whose name I don't remember, another foreign center. But I'll be interested to see if Painter tries to fill in that gap by getting a portal center, which I would think if I was a big guy, I would try playing for Matt Painter, because he's had success with a number of big guys.
Going down your list of headlines that were on your iPad, my first question is Oakland transferred Trey Townsend to take a Louisville visit. They need to be focusing on Steph Curry Goki out of Oakland.
He's out of eligibility.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I would have liked to watch him again.
He's almost 25 years old, man. It's time for him to. He should be doing tax returns as an accountant these days.
Wasn't that the average age for Wisconsin a few years ago?
I believe it was. Yeah.
They were older than the Chicago Bulls.
Yes, they were. And Towns is a decent player. I think he's committed to visiting Louisville.
Jeremy Roach leaving Duke. That one surprises me a little bit.
Yeah. I see Hunter Dickinson's trying to get him to come to Kansas. They played together in AAU ball. So I'd keep my eye on Kansas in that one.
Hunter Dickinson has eligibility left?
I thought he had 1 year left. Yeah.
God, I thought he's been playing since 1967.
Yeah, he's gonna play. I think they're gonna get Brad Davison and Bohannon from Iowa, and they're gonna form a team.
And I agree with you on the portal. I think everybody does. It's when you add so much year to year from the portal, the identity starts to go away for teams or programs, whatever that is. There's a way to keep that. But like I look at the Indiana women's team, it's not through the portal so much, but all their players, they have like one from Indiana, but they have an Indiana identity,
right?
A culture, which I think you can maintain that, but it takes effort. It just doesn't happen.
No, it takes patience, and it takes consistency in the coaching staff, and they've had that. I know they lost an assistant last year to Miami of Ohio, but the staff's been together for a while. And Terry Moore made a statement this year by not being interested in the Tennessee job that Indiana's where she wants to be. So I think the word's out. If you're going to come to Indiana, the kind of player you need to be and play for her, It's not going to be about you. It's going to be about the team. And that's the way she's recruited so far. Even Sarah Scalia, who was the, king of the hill at Minnesota, left there to come to be a part of a better team at Indiana.
Absolutely. And we didn't get to talk about it as much. Make sure you go to WDRB.com for Rick's latest on the portal. And I agree. You've got guys, when it doesn't work out, I'm going to go someplace else.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's not the way it used to be. Most people will tell you in their life, some of the best lessons they learned came from adversity. Running to something else, sometimes you need to do it if it's a bad situation or unhealthy situation, but sometimes staying and figuring it out and working through your problems will serve you better the rest of your life.
Derby coming up, man, less than 2 weeks or about 2 weeks away right now.
Derby 150. It's going to be a big one. New multi-million-dollar paddock at Churchill Downs is going to be the star of the show. Can't wait to see it. Rick, appreciate you as always. All right. I enjoy coming on. The great Rick Bozich, the captain from WDRB.com. Make sure you go check out his content. Got a new piece out right now in regards with the love-hate of the portal that I think you all will share. Thanks to K-Bro for jumping on today and replaced for Dylan Sin. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star as well. Appreciate each and every one of those guys. Most importantly, each and every one of you. Jump on the Hoosier.com to stay up to date on what's happening in the portal with visits, who's coming, who's going, and everything else. We're back tomorrow to get you prepped up for Indiana spring football game. And as always, keep you up to date with what happens because each day brings more news. Until then, thanks to John for keeping us between the white lines. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat